Welcome back. We've got another update video for you. This might be the last update video. This thing is pretty close. We got it started last night. It's very exciting. I forgot to hook up the ground on the fuel pump controller, but that was the only problem. You know, we're wanting to set the base pressure, which it was already set from last time it was running, but I just wanted to make sure, and the pump wasn't running, so I tracked it down to the ground. I forgot to connect. It was like the last thing I had to connect. It was just kind of hiding down there in a bundle of wires, but it started on the first try, and everything's working like it's supposed to. So we've got the BCM, the factory BCM in the car, and the factory ECM, and I've got the crank signal and crank cam signal from the Holly going over to the factory ECM. So this is one of those cars where you just push the button, let go, and it runs its starting sequence, and it does all that perfectly. Couldn't ask for anything more easy. It just flowed so good. The factory ECM is also controlling the alternator, and it's charging like it's supposed to. You know, the windows work. You know, they come down just a little bit when you open the door. The lights dim like they're supposed to. I mean, it does everything that the factory BCM is supposed to do. So as you can see, it's over on the dyno. I kind of use that as it's a good place to do all the wiring, because I can open those doors all the way. Can't really open them very good on the rack, so it gives me a lot of room to be able to open them up and get in there. I'm a big guy. I need some room. I still ended up taking the seat out of the passenger side. Let me flip this thing around here. I'll show you where we're at. Okay, so we have this dash. I think I've showed it before. Get up there, box. Okay. This is a printed dash, 3D printed dash. These are the blinkers. They've got little arrows on them. And I like to label everything, so this is the wiring. Focus. Right turn, left turn. Are you serious? Come on now. Focused for half a second. Anyways, you get the idea. And you got the other side of the connector in the car. And then we got this really cool thing from RaceWire Solutions. Data 1 will be connected to the Holly Dominator, and data 2 will be connected to the screen. That way we can update if we ever need to. We got all these guys, all these wires coming off the screen. I've got to get a little short USB A male to A male, so they got to hook into there, and the Holly Dominator just will hook right into there, no problem. And the blinkers work like they're supposed to. And let's go to the car. Yeah, the little switches here work still. So we've got the Dominator all the way back in there. Guess I better close the door so you can stop beeping at me. Couldn't find anywhere else to put this darn thing, so I'll just put it in there. Also made a little bracket here, that guy there, where all this stuff will zip tie to. Keep all this stuff, give more room for the screen right here. And like I said, I like to label everything, so all those inputs are labeled. Just a couple outputs over here. One of them's 12 volts for the flex fuel sensor, the other one's for the fans. But yeah, that turned out really nice. The traction control button down here is now the burnout button. I don't know if you can hear that clicking off in the background, but that is the line lock. It's even got a Corvette doing a burnout. I don't know why it would be a traction control button. And get all that stuff cleaned up. I gotta put this back on. But we're waiting on the cables for that screen. Because the Dominator, this USB cable right here, will plug into that Race Wire Solutions billet data port. But I was super stoked at that. The sucker fit in there. I still got to make a little tube. Kind of hard to see it, but right there is the tube that goes to the defroster for the side window. And well, you can't see the other end of it. But anyways, there's a tube in there, so I need to make something different because it's not going to fit obviously with the Dominator in there. But no big deal. Figure something out. Just like a little corrugated tubing of some sort. Should work just fine. I don't know if you can see it in there, but there's a little tube right there, the gray tube. There, get in there. A little closer. Maybe. There it is. Okay. So that little black piece right there is part of the original that went across there. Just lopped it off and stuck it in there. Use a little silicone. And same for that end. Just lopped it off the original. So now we got some side defrost now. Back the way it was. Okay, so got all the plumbing done, obviously because it's running. And we've got the fuel lines covered just in case they get a little toasty next to the headers. The headers are wrapped. We got the DEI titanium wrap. I like to double clamp them at the ends just to be sure. We got our flex fuel sensor down in here. Made him a new charge tube. The other charge tube was it had a little slot in it for the air fuel meter or MAF sensor, whatever you want to call it, but we don't need that anymore, so we got rid of that. We put the intake air temp sensor right there. This was supposed to be long enough so I wouldn't have had to add that little chunk, but it's alright, made it work. Got this guy on there, had to do a little modifications to that, make it work right. I'm so sad all that stuff is all hidden in there now. But they work. Brakes are all bled out. It's our fuel pump controller. Like I said, I like to label everything, so got some labels. Definitely helps for troubleshooting if you ever have to troubleshoot. Makes it way easier. Another label there. But anyways, yeah, right here I got to finish up the catch can because we're doing a little different. We're doing a Vette atmosphere now, and the catch can that was there, it's a Mighty Mouse one. It was using vacuum. So we got to change that up a little bit. Something you don't see very often on Corvettes is a throttle cable. Got the bracket all made. Okay, so this is what I'm working with for the gas pedal. This is the factory gas pedal. It's got the little, I don't know what you call that, range? Gas position, accelerator position range, I guess. But anyways, that goes to the computer. It tells you how far you're pushing that. So we're gonna go cable throttle body now. So we need something to operate it. So I figured up the throw on the throttle body, which was, the throw on the throttle body was 2.5 total inches. And Is that for top? Okay, yeah, 4.5 inches up. That's where we need to be from that hole there. But anyways, or no, the top hole. So I've modified this a little bit. I should have showed you guys the pictures, or should have took pictures before I started mutilating it, but it had a little thing sticking out here, a little thing sticking out there, and it rubbed up against that. Like it would only go so far, stop, so far and stop. So with that cut off, I was able to get more angle this way because it didn't have enough throw. The bar would have been way out here to get that 2.5 inches of throw. So by cutting that off, or this top piece, I was able to get more throw this way. And so now that middle hole right there, the third hole down, should be right where we need to be, but I made extra just in case we got to mess with the adjustment. And now we need something to hold the cable. The firewall has an angle to it. It's not straight, so I had to make this bracket for the cable. So the cable come up through that hole and then connect to those holes with one of these guys. Boop. So if everything measures out okay, I've got a little itty bitty hole and a grommet cut already, or a hole cut and a grommet in it. Right up there, you can see the little grommet up there. Cut out some of the insulation so I can get to the firewall. It's coming out. Right there. That blue stud is where I've got the fuel lines held onto with a P-clamp, and also this guy here, that little P-clamp here, vacuum line for the brakes. So that ought to work out really nice. You see the little grommet a little better here. Alright, this thing put all together. I just have this arm tacked on here for now. It's got tacked on in a couple spots, so I want to put it all together and try it, make sure it's going to work before I cut everything up. I think this is going to work out good. Pretty much straight on. When the throttle body's pulling on that cable, because it's got a spring on it too, it'll help pull it back in there and not do that clicking thing. It's gonna turn out pretty darn nice. Woohoo! Now we gotta make a bracket. This guy here, they've got LS1 manifold cable brackets, but nothing for the LS3 stuff. So I think I'm gonna make something really easy. Just goes over here, then jumps up a little bit. It's got a hole right there. Cable will just sit like that or something. You gotta love this RAM board. Works really good for bringing your ideas to life. It's a big old roll of it. The stuff that contractors use to put down on floors. Work great for templates. And here's my bracket. Made it out of stainless. I think that's gonna turn out pretty damn good. Nice. I don't know if I'm gonna leave it shiny. Gave it a little polish job. Might leave it shiny and see what it looks like. Let's go put it on. And the fuel line will go right over the top, like that. Should line up perfect. I was worried this thing was going to sit right on top of that, but it's not going to. Nice. I might have to tweak that angle just a little bit. Cut this guy down. But it's going to look something like this. Let it run back that way. Let's go right down there. Let's start this sucker up. All we have is the headers on it right now. Oh, well, that was on. Brrr. Smells like the 85 in here. But the tune that's in it is just kind of a quick startup tune, so it's not going to run the greatest. As far as you're jumping all over, because we've got like literally probably this much room between the O2 sensor and the end of the header. So we need to get this thing off the dyno rack. Yeah, I know. Anyways, gotta get off the dyno rack, put it over on that rack, put the front end back together, and put the exhaust on it, check all the fluids in the transmission and the rear diff. But that's where we're at. Here's this guy. I gotta add a hole right here. It's got 2 holes in it now, there and there. And those will be for each valve cover. And then I'm going to drill and tap and use this guy, put it there. And that's where the dry sump oil tank, both are 2 little oil tanks and have lines coming off of them. They're going to vent into there also. So let's get this thing off the rack, get some work done. Well, while I got this thing apart, I figured I'd show you guys. This is really cool. This is not where it usually goes. It was just kind of hanging out when I got the car, but I found a good spot to put it. But that is a fan controller for the Corvettes. It comes with Corvettes. So the ECM outputs a Hertz signal and then a duty cycle. And I'll show you the computer over here, how we programmed it, but it's really freaking neat. I was just going to use relays, but there weren't any extra up in the fuse block. I was like, well, I'll just try and figure this out. And on the internet, it's all over the internet on how to program, so it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. In the Holly, let's see, I've got it out here. These are on the J2A connector, The J2B connector. Anything that's blue is something that I added. And we did add the second wideband also. But we got the fans on B3. They're pulse width modulated negative. So it gives a duty cycle and negative signal. And also a hertz signal. But it's really easy to program. When you're doing your I/O, do I/O, and then outputs, and under fan, you know, I just wrote a fan. You can write it whatever you want. But then on the drop down here, you'll pick pulse width modulated negative, right there. And then over here, when you configure it, you gotta go up here to PWM setup, pulse width modulated setup. So it's a fixed. The frequency is 128 hertz, and we're going in duty cycle percentage. So my x-axis is the right front ABS speed sensor, and then here you got coolant temp, obviously. So 0 is we don't need it on there. And we also don't need it on when we're going down the highway, about 65, 70. So we're at 0 duty cycle there. And then once it gets up to about 160, it'll go to about 30% and jump to 70 and then go to 90. They only operate at 10 to 90%. So if you do 100%, it just shuts off. I tried. So 90% is where it is the highest it'll go. And it's really neat, like when it's in between 150 and 160, it'll just kind of slowly bring the fan up. You know, it's not like just a bam on. It's just a nice gradual on. So pretty simple. But yep, easy enough. And then the oil cooler, might as well show that too. Originally, the oil cooler, it's an engine oil cooler, right? Just a external one. Normally it would go right in here in front of the AC condenser, but now that we have the intercooler there, not going to fit there anymore. So I made these brackets, bolt on right there, and then another bracket on this side. I had to drill holes through the frame, but no big deal. And then it just bolts in like so. Sits up way up out of the way. Still get plenty of air right there. We bolted in. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, there it is, all bolted in. Up and out of the way. It's up behind the radiator, and it's up higher than this little skid plate here, so should not hit a thing. Okay, I finished putting this thing back together. Oh, well, we got the exhaust for the most part on. Racing exhaust. It's all 3-inch. We don't have our hangers. Go up here, so we got to buy some. They have left the chat, so. But he's putting Corsa mufflers on it. Looks pretty sick. They ought to sound good too. They're just a straight through with a baffle. Just go right straight on through. It's got a bunch of stuff on the inside, but the inner pipe is kind of perforated. Okay, I'm gonna work on putting that front bumper back on, make it look like a car again. All right, it's on the ground. Been driving it a little bit, getting the driving tune dialed in. Just pretty much dialed in for driving. Made a little screen for that. I don't know if I like it or not. It's aluminum, but it won't suck in. But I think I don't know if it's gonna flow very good or not. We'll probably take it off when we get it on the dyno. Really, I would like to see like maybe a stainless, like a polygon stainless cutout, you know, polygon, instead of
instead of these shapes, it'll be polygon and stainless, and these edges will be a lot thinner. The stainless will be a lot stronger too. This shouldn't suck in the way it's shaped and everything, but we got the Mighty Mouse catch can all modified. Drilled a hole and tapped this fitting into the side here. That way this vent here, this vents both the oil tanks, the dry sump oil tanks, and it vents right into the catch can. We got that guy going over to this valve cover. That one going over to that valve cover where we welded on the dash 10 fitting right there. Got both the Dominator and the screen all updated. Start this thing up. I'll show you the screen while we're at it too. It's actually pretty clean in here. Got all the dash back together. Everything's all nice and working. Might need to change that to read something different. It's kind of reading sideways. But I mean, we can change all these any way we want to. You can start it up so you can see it. Yep, still need to work on the startup tune. Seems to be working all right. Voltage. But we can change this later, you know, if he doesn't want all that stuff on there. Well, I don't think this will be the last video. We'll have one more video once we get the dyno back up and going. We're pretty close. I think we got the computer figured out, or we got a new used computer. So we'll dyno it and we'll post that video. Hopefully it should be exciting. But as for this guy, just gotta throw the hood on and it's gonna be ready to go. So thanks everybody for watching, and I hope it didn't bore you to death. And see you on the next one. Bye.